The great chamber of Nexus Prime Station buzzed with nervous energy. 12 different species sat around the circular council table, their various forms creating a strange rainbow of colors and shapes. Ambassador Jin Soo-hyun sat quietly in the observers section, his hands folded calmly in his lap. Today, the Galactic Council would decide if humans could join their alliance as full members. Councillor Thexvara stood up from her seat. The tall Ziloni female had bright purple skin and 4 arms that moved when she spoke. Her voice carried across the chamber like a sharp blade. Fellow councillors, we must think carefully about this decision, she said. Humans are too young. They have only been traveling between stars for 200 years. We have been doing this for thousands of years. Several other councillors nodded. Jin watched but showed no emotion on his face. He had heard these arguments many times before. Look at their history, Thexvara continued. Wars, violence, destruction of their own planet's environment. They make decisions with their emotions, not their minds. Do we really want such creatures in our peaceful alliance? Councillor Brixton, a small furry being with large eyes, spoke up. But humans have helped us many times. Their doctors saved thousands during the red fever outbreak on Kepler-7. Yes, agreed Councillor Velnara, whose blue tentacles moved like ocean waves. And their engineers fixed our communication systems when nobody else could. Thexvara waved one of her 4 hands dismissively. Small favors do not make them ready for full membership. They are too unpredictable. Too dangerous. High Arbiter Kel Noth, an ancient being who looked like a walking tree, spoke in a voice like rustling leaves. We have discussed this for many cycles. It is time to vote. His old eyes looked tired, as if he had seen too many such debates. The voting began. Each councillor placed a crystal in either the acceptance bowl or the rejection bowl. Jin counted silently as each crystal dropped. 8 crystals went into the rejection bowl. Only 4 went into acceptance. The decision is made, Kelnoth announced. Humanity's application for full membership is rejected. Jin stood up slowly. Every eye in the chamber turned to him. Many councillors looked uncomfortable. Some looked satisfied. A few looked sad. I thank the council for their consideration, Jin said. His voice was calm and polite. We understand your decision. We will begin withdrawing from all cooperative programs immediately. Number 1. Thexvara looked surprised. Withdrawing? But you can still participate as observers. Jin smiled, but it was a cold smile. With respect, Counselor, cooperation works both ways. If we are not trusted as equal partners, we see no benefit in remaining as junior helpers. Now wait, Counselor Brixton said quickly. Perhaps we can discuss. There is nothing to discuss, Jin interrupted gently. You have made your choice. We will make ours. Good day, counselors. Jin walked out of the chamber with quiet dignity. Behind him, he could hear nervous whispers starting among the counselors. Within hours, human teams across the galaxy received their new orders. Dr. Elena Rodriguez was working in the medical research lab on Station Omega-7 when her communication device beeped. She read the message twice, then began packing her equipment. Where are you going? Asked Dr. Fexani, her Ziloni research partner. Home, Elena said simply. The council has decided they don't need human members. So they don't need human researchers either. But our work on the cross-species virus project will continue without me. Good luck with it. Captain Park Min-jun was leading a joint patrol near the outer rim when his orders came through. His ship and crew were to return to human space immediately. The alien ships in his patrol group watched in confusion as the human vessels simply turned around and left. Where are they going? Asked Commander Zix Orth of the Vorthak fleet. Apparently home, replied Captain Yildena of the Aquarian Navy. I wonder why they seem so calm about it. Across the galaxy, human teams quietly packed up and left. They took their medical knowledge, their engineering skills, and their strategic thinking with them. None of them complained. None of them argued. They simply smiled politely and walked away. Back on Nexus Prime, Counselor Brixton approached Thexvara after the session ended. "Are you sure this was wise?" he asked. "Humans have contributed much to our projects." Thexvara crossed all four of her arms. "They contributed labor. Nothing more. We can find other species to do the same work. Humans think too highly of themselves. But their innovation, their different way of thinking, will not be missed," Thexvara said firmly. "The galaxy was peaceful for thousands of years before humans arrived. It will be peaceful again, now that they know their place." High Arbiter Kelnoth listened to this conversation from nearby. Something in his ancient heart felt uneasy, but he said nothing. The decision was made. Within a week, the last human had left Nexus Prime. The station felt different somehow, though nobody could say exactly why. The human quarters stood empty, their equipment gone, their research files transferred to other teams. Jin Soo-hyun stood on the observation deck of his ship as it jumped to hyperspace. Nexus Prime became a tiny dot of light, then disappeared completely. He felt no anger, no bitterness, only a quiet sadness for opportunities lost. "Sir," said his aide, "the withdrawal is complete. All human personnel and equipment have been recalled." "Good," Jin said. "Now we wait." "Wait for what, sir?" Jin looked out at the stars rushing past. "For them to realize what they've lost." The galaxy continued to turn, but something had changed. Something important had been removed from the careful balance of cooperation and trust that held the alliance together. Soon, very soon, the Council would begin to understand what that something was. 3 weeks after the Council's decision, the first problems began to appear. Dr. Elena Rodriguez finished packing the last of her research equipment on Kepler-7. The medical facility felt empty, without the human medical teams that had worked there for 5 years. Her Zaloni colleague, Dr. Fexani, watched sadly as crate after crate was loaded onto the transport ship. "The virus research will take years longer without your team," Fexani said. Elena paused in her work. "We offered to share everything we learned. The Council decided our methods were too unpredictable. But your unconventional approaches saved so many lives during the Red Fever outbreak." "Unconventional," Elena repeated with a small smile. "Yes, that's what they called it when we mixed medicines in ways nobody had tried before. When we used human psychology to help alien patients feel better. When we treated each patient as an individual instead of following standard procedures." She sealed the last crate. "Good luck with your research, friend. You know where to find us if you change your mind." Meanwhile, on the trading station Gamma Nexus, human engineers were powering down the communication array they had designed. Chief Engineer Kim Dae-ho watched the screens go dark one by one. "Sir, are you sure about this?" asked his assistant. "This system handles communication for 12 sectors. We built it, we maintain it, we understand it," Kim said. "The Council wants us gone, so our systems go with us. They'll figure out something else." The alien technicians watching looked confused. They had learned to operate the human-designed systems, but they didn't really understand how they worked. The humans had always been there to fix problems and make improvements. "How do we modify the quantum resonance frequencies?" asked Chief Velcano, a Aquarian engineer. "The manuals are in the computer," Kim replied. "Everything you need to know is there." But as Kim knew, and as Velcano would soon discover, there was a big difference between reading about how something worked and actually understanding it. On the border world of Frontier's Edge, Captain Park Min-jun was pulling the last human patrol ships out of the sector. For 3 years, human and alien forces had worked together to keep pirates and raiders away from the peaceful farming colonies. Commander Zix Orth of the Vorthak Navy approached Park's ship for one final meeting. "Your tactical knowledge has been invaluable," Zixorth said. "The way you predicted enemy movements, found weaknesses in their formations." "Standard human military training," Park interrupted politely. "Nothing special. But your strategies worked when ours failed." "You think differently than we do," Park nodded. "Yes, we do. That's why the Council decided we don't belong." After the human ships departed, Zixorth felt uneasy. The patrol routes looked the same on paper, but something important was missing. Humans had a way of seeing patterns that others missed. They found solutions where others saw only problems. Back on Nexus Prime, the first technical difficulties were already starting. The communication system that connected all Council worlds began showing strange glitches. Messages arrived, scrambled, or delayed. Sometimes they didn't arrive at all. The alien engineers worked frantically to fix the problems, but every solution seemed to create two new problems. "The human-designed quantum processors are failing," reported Chief Engineer Velcano to the Council. "We're trying to understand their modifications to the standard design." "Can't you just replace them with standard processors?" asked Councillor Thexvara. "The entire system is integrated. The humans changed everything to work together in ways we don't fully understand." Their notes mentioned something about intuitive redundancy and adaptive protocols. But these concepts don't exist in standard engineering. High Arbiter Kelnoth felt a growing worry in his ancient heart. "How long to repair the system?" "We don't know, sir. Maybe months, maybe years." In the research sectors, other problems were appearing. Projects that had run smoothly for years suddenly hit roadblocks. Alien scientists discovered that many of their breakthrough discoveries had come from human insights and suggestions. Dr. Zethira of the Botanical Research Institute stared at her failing experiments. "We can't recreate the growing formula that Dr. Rodriguez developed," she told her team. "Her notes say to adjust nutrients based on plant behavior. But how do we measure plant behavior?" "Humans have this strange ability to observe things that our instruments can't detect," said her assistant. "They call it intuition." "Intuition isn't scientific," Zethira said firmly. "There must be a logical explanation." But after 2 weeks of failed experiments, she was beginning to wonder if humans knew something that couldn't be measured by instruments. The trade networks also began to suffer. Human ships had carried goods between worlds for decades. Their captains knew which planets needed what, supplies, and when. They understood market fluctuations and cultural preferences. More importantly, humans had become trusted mediators in trade disputes. Their strange ability to understand different perspectives made them excellent negotiators. Councillor Brixton watched the trade reports with growing alarm. "Profits are down 30% in just 3 weeks, he told the Council. "Several trade agreements are failing because disputes can't be resolved." "We'll find other mediators," Thexvara said, but she sounded less confident than before. On the Outer Rim, pirate attacks increased dramatically. Without human tactical advice, the alien defense forces struggled to predict enemy movements. Pirates began hitting supply convoys that had been safe for years. Captain Yildena of the Aquarian Navy sent a desperate message to Council Command. "Request immediate reinforcements. Pirate activities have tripled. Our standard defensive patterns are failing." "What patterns did you use when humans were present?" came the reply. "Whatever," Captain Park suggested. He seemed to understand how pirates think. But Park and his knowledge were gone. Returned to human space with quiet dignity and no hard feelings. As reports of problems poured in from across the galaxy, some council members began to express doubts. "Perhaps we should have considered this more carefully," Councillor Velnara said during a private meeting. "Nonsense," Thexvara replied, but her voice lacked its usual confidence. "These are temporary problems. We managed fine before humans arrived. But we hadn't integrated their systems and methods into everything we do," Velnara pointed out. "Removing them is like taking a vital organ from a living body." High Arbiter Kelnoth said nothing, but his ancient eyes were filled with worry. In his long life, he had seen many mistakes, but he was beginning to fear this might be one of the worst. The galaxy continued to turn, but the careful balance was shifting. And somewhere in human space, Ambassador Jin Soo-hyun received daily reports of the growing chaos with sad but unsurprised understanding. 6 months after the humans left, disaster struck the galaxy. It began on Zelonia Prime, Counselor Thexvara's homeworld. A strange sickness appeared in the capital city. At first, it seemed like a simple flu that affected only Zeloni people. But within days, it spread to other species visiting the planet. Dr. Fexani worked desperately in her laboratory as the disease spread. "It's unlike anything we've seen," she reported to the medical council. "It changes as it moves from one species to another. Our standard treatments don't work." The disease spread quickly through the trade routes. Zeloni traders carried it to Aquarian worlds, where it mutated again. Aquarian diplomats brought it to Vorthak space, where it changed once more. Each time it jumped to a new species, it became something different but equally dangerous. "We need to understand how cross-species diseases work," Dr. Fexani said during an emergency medical meeting. But our expert in that field was Dr. Elena Rodriguez. "Where is she now?" asked the medical chief. "Human space. She offered to share her research with us. But we said we didn't need human medical theories." The plague continued to spread. Whole planets went into quarantine. Trade stopped. Fear grew. At the same time, the communication network finally collapsed completely. The quantum processors that humans had modified couldn't be repaired with standard methods. Messages between council worlds now took days instead of seconds. "We're flying blind," reported Chief Engineer Velcano. "Without instant communication, we can't coordinate our response to the plague." But the worst was yet to come. On the border worlds, pirate attacks had grown into something much more dangerous. The raiders had organized into large fleets. They were no longer just stealing cargo, they were conquering entire systems. Captain Yildena's ship limped back to base after another failed battle. Half her crew was dead or wounded. "They're using tactics we've never seen," she reported. "Every time we think we understand their pattern, they change it." Commander Zix Orth reviewed the battle reports with growing fear. "These aren't random pirate raids anymore. Someone is teaching them military strategy. Who could do that? I don't know. But I remember Captain Park saying that pirates are just failed soldiers. Someone who understands both military tactics and criminal thinking would be very dangerous." As if the plague and pirate attacks weren't enough, a new crisis emerged. 2 council member species, the Rigelians and the Centaurans, began fighting over mining rights in the neutral zone. What should have been a simple trade dispute exploded into threats of war. Both sides refused to compromise. Their different ways of thinking made communication impossible. "In the past, humans would have mediated this," Counselor Brixton said desperately. "They had this gift for understanding how different species think. We don't need human interference," Thexvara insisted. But she looked tired and worried. Her own world was suffering from the plague, and she was losing confidence. The fighting between Rigelians and Centaurans grew worse. Ships were destroyed, colonies were attacked. The careful peace that had lasted for centuries was breaking apart. High Arbiter Kel Noth watched the crisis reports pile up on his desk. In his thousands of years of life, he had never seen so many disasters happen at once. "Perhaps," he said slowly to his aide, "we should consider contacting the humans." "For what purpose, sir?" "Help. Medical knowledge. Communication repair. Mediation. All the things we said we didn't need." Meanwhile, on the trade station Gamma Nexus, Chief Engineer Kim Dae-ho received an unusual message. It came through the old emergency channels, not the official council communication system. "Engineer Kim, this is Emergency Coordinator Velcano. Our communication network has failed completely. Can you help us understand the quantum resonance modifications your team made? Kim read the message twice. He thought about the polite rejection 6 months ago. He thought about being told that human methods were too unpredictable. He thought about watching his life's work being dismissed as unimportant. Then he thought about the billions of people who would suffer if the communication network couldn't be repaired. Send technical specifications, he replied. No charge. But understanding technical specifications and actually implementing them were different things. The alien engineers tried to follow Kim's instructions, but they lacked the intuitive understanding that made human engineering work. Dr. Elena Rodriguez received similar desperate messages. Medical facilities across the galaxy were begging for her expertise with cross-species diseases. She shared her research freely, but her notes seemed impossible to follow. Comments like, adjust treatment based on patient's emotional state, and consider species-specific stress responses, made no sense to alien doctors who treated diseases like mechanical problems. Humans think about medicine differently, Dr. Fexani explained to her frustrated colleagues. They see each patient as an individual, not just a collection of symptoms. They consider emotions, psychology, even hope as part of treatment. That's not scientific, protested Dr. Zethira. Maybe not, but it works. Captain Park Min-jun also received messages from his former colleagues. The pirate problem had become a full-scale security crisis. Alien military commanders were desperate for tactical advice. Park shared intelligence about pirate psychology and unconventional warfare tactics. But his warnings about the importance of thinking like the enemy fell on deaf ears. Alien military training focused on honor and direct confrontation. They couldn't adapt to the chaotic, unpredictable style of pirate warfare. You have to be willing to break your own rules, Park explained in one message. Pirates don't follow military honor. They use deception, misdirection, psychological warfare. To beat them, you have to think like them. That's dishonorable, replied Commander Zix Orth. Yes, Park wrote back. But it works. As the crises deepened, more council members began to question their decision. The plague was spreading faster. The communication breakdown was making coordination impossible. Pirate fleets were threatening core worlds. The Regelian-Centauran conflict was pulling other species into the fighting. Councillor Velnara made a private call to Councillor Brixton. We made a mistake, she said quietly. We thought humans were just another species with some useful skills. We didn't realize they were the glue holding our alliance together. Thexvara will never admit she was wrong, Brixton replied. Then maybe it's time for new leadership. But even as some council members began to see the truth, pride and politics prevented action. The galaxy burned, while politicians argued about who was to blame. And in human space, Ambassador Jin Soo-hyun watched the reports with deep sadness. He had hoped the council would learn from their mistake before things got this bad. His aide brought him the daily situation report. Sir, should we offer assistance? Jin considered carefully. Not yet. Help offered too soon teaches nothing. They need to understand the full cost of their choice before they can appreciate the value of cooperation. The galaxy continued to suffer, and the lesson was far from over. 1 year after the humans left, the galaxy was in chaos. The plague had spread to 47 worlds. Millions were sick or dying. The communication network remained broken, making it impossible to coordinate medical responses. The Rigelian-Centauran War had expanded to include 6 other species. Pirate fleets controlled entire sectors of space. Councillor Thexvara stood in her private chambers on Nexus Prime, looking out at the stars. Her own world was under quarantine. Her people were dying from a disease that human doctors might have cured months ago. Councillor, her aide said carefully, there is a message from the Medical Council. They're requesting permission to formally ask for human assistance. Thexvara closed her eyes. Denied. But sir, The death toll. I said denied. Thexvara snapped. We will not go crawling back to humans like helpless children. We are proud species with thousands of years of civilization. We do not need help from young upstarts who have barely learned to travel between stars. But her words rang hollow. Everyone could see that the galaxy was falling apart. High Arbiter Kelnoth called an emergency council session. As the members gathered, many participated through old-style slower communications due to the network breakdown. Some couldn't attend at all because their worlds were under siege or quarantine. Fellow counselors, Kelnoth began, his ancient voice heavy with sorrow. We face the greatest crisis in our alliance's history. Perhaps it is time to reconsider our options. Counselor Brixton spoke first. I think we all know what option you mean. But will the humans even help us now? We rejected them. We dismissed their contributions. We called them too young and too dangerous. There's only one way to find out, said Counselor Velnara. We could send a message to Ambassador Jin. Never. Thexvara said firmly. We will solve these problems ourselves. We always have. When? Demanded Counselor Yixaran, whose world was under pirate attack. My people are dying while we debate. Pride is a luxury we can no longer afford. Your world wouldn't be under attack if you had proper defenses, Thexvara shot back. Our defenses worked fine when humans helped design them. The argument continued for hours. But while the council debated, brave individuals were already taking action. Dr. Fexani ignored official protocols and sent a personal message to Dr. Elena Rodriguez. Elena, my friend, I know this is improper, but my people are dying. Can you help? The reply came within hours, sent through human communication networks that still worked perfectly. Of course. I'm sending medical supplies and a treatment protocol. But Fexani, this disease adapts to each species differently. You need someone who understands both the medical science and the psychological differences between species. Are you offering to come? If you want me. But this can't be secret. Your people need to know that cooperation isn't surrender. Similar secret messages were sent to other humans. Chief Engineer Kim received desperate pleas from alien engineers trying to repair the communication network. Captain Park got requests for tactical advice from military commanders facing impossible odds. Commander Zix Orth finally broke military protocol and contacted Park directly. Captain, my fleet is trapped in the Outer Rim. Pirate forces have us surrounded. Our tactical computers show no possible victory scenarios. Send me your sensor data, Park replied immediately. No political strings attached. Military honor requires helping fellow soldiers. Within an hour, Park had identified 17 weaknesses in the pirate formation that alien tactical computers had missed. Pirates are overconfident, he explained. They think like criminals, not soldiers. They always leave escape routes because they don't expect anyone to fight back effectively. But our honor code requires direct confrontation. Your honor code requires protecting innocent people, Park corrected. Sometimes, that means fighting dirty. Following Park's advice, Zix Orth led a successful breakout that saved his entire fleet. For the first time in months, the aliens had won a significant victory against the pirates. But the most dramatic change came when Dr. Elena Rodriguez arrived on Kepler 7 with medical supplies and a small team of human doctors. They didn't come in military ships or with great fanfare. They came in a simple medical transport, flying through dangerous space where pirates might attack them at any moment. Dr. Fexani met them at the landing pad. Elena, you shouldn't have risked this. The journey through pirate-controlled space was necessary, Elena finished. People are dying. Doctors don't abandon patients because of politics. Within days, the human medical team had the plague under control on Kepler 7. Their treatment methods seemed like magic to alien doctors who had been failing for months. How do you know which medicine to use for each patient? Dr. Fexani asked, as she watched Elena examine a young Zaloni child. I watch how he responds to my voice. See how his eyes track movement? That tells me his nervous system is fighting the infection differently than an adult would. I adjust the treatment accordingly. But that's not in any medical textbook. Elena smiled. The best medicine isn't in textbooks. It's in understanding that each patient is unique. Word of the medical success spread quickly, even through the broken communication networks. Other worlds began secretly requesting human help. But Counselor Thexvara was furious when she learned about the unauthorized assistance. This is unacceptable, she declared. Humans are interfering in our internal affairs. They're saving lives, Counselor Brixton replied angrily. While we debate politics, humans are actually solving our problems. Without official approval, without going through proper channels. High Arbiter Kelnoth spoke quietly, but his words carried great weight. Perhaps, Counselor Thexvara, the proper channels have failed. Perhaps individual courage and compassion matter more than political procedures. Thexvara looked around the chamber and saw that most of the other counselors were nodding in agreement. Her political support was crumbling as quickly as the galaxy itself. Meanwhile, more humans were quietly arriving to help. Engineers who repaired communication hubs, doctors who treated plague victims, military advisors who helped plan defenses against pirates. They came not as conquerors or political manipulators, but as professionals doing their jobs. And everywhere they went, things got better. The communication network slowly came back online as human engineers shared their knowledge freely. The plague retreated as human doctors taught alien colleagues new treatment methods. Pirate attacks decreased as human tactical advice helped alien forces fight more effectively. But the humans made it clear that this was emergency assistance only. They weren't rejoining the alliance or seeking political advantage. They were simply helping fellow beings in crisis. Ambassador Jin Soo-hyun received daily reports of his people's activities across the galaxy. His aide asked, "Sir, shouldn't we be negotiating for political concessions in return for this help?" "No," Jin replied firmly. "Help given with conditions isn't really help. It's a transaction. When the crisis is over, the galaxy will remember who helped freely and who demanded payment for doing the right thing." As the fourth month of human assistance continued, it became clear that the galaxy's problems were slowly being solved. But the political crisis was just beginning. The Council would soon have to face a difficult question. How do you apologize to people you treated as inferior? Especially when those people are saving your civilization with quiet dignity and no demands for recognition. 18 months after the humans were rejected from the Council, High Arbiter Kelnoth made a decision that would change the galaxy forever. The crisis was finally ending. Human doctors had stopped the plague on most worlds. Human engineers had repaired the communication networks. Human military advisors had helped defeat the pirate fleets. The Rigelian-Centauran War had ended when human mediators helped both sides find a compromise that preserved everyone's honor. But the political crisis was just beginning. Kelnoth stood in his private chamber, looking at reports from across the galaxy. Everywhere humans had helped, they had done so quietly and efficiently. They asked for nothing in return. They made no demands for recognition. They simply fixed problems and moved on. "Sir," his aide said carefully, "Counselor Thexvara is requesting a private meeting." "Send her in." Thexvara entered the chamber looking older than her years. The stress of watching her world nearly die from plague had changed her. Her purple skin was pale, and her forearms moved nervously. "High Arbiter," she began. "I come to you with a difficult request. I'm listening. I want to resign from the Council." Kelnoth was surprised. "Why?" Thexvara looked down at the floor. "Because I was wrong. Completely, utterly, dangerously wrong. My pride almost destroyed the galaxy. My prejudice nearly killed billions of innocent people." She looked up with tears in her large eyes. "The humans saved my world. They saved my people. They saved everyone. And they did it with no thought of reward or revenge. They did it because it was right. And you think resigning will fix this? No, Thexvara said quietly. Nothing can fix what I did. But maybe someone better can prevent me from doing it again. Creasing time. In Mainzer Kam. I was really didn't. End quote. Quote. No. I was really didn't. Were something this verily were see. Kelnoth studied the female Zeloni for a long moment. What if, instead of resigning, you helped fix the damage you caused? 8. How? By being the one to officially invite humans back into the Alliance, by publicly admitting your mistake, by asking for their forgiveness. Thexvara winced. That would be very difficult. The right thing often is. 3 days later, the full Galactic Council met for the first time in months. The communication networks were working again, so all members could participate directly. The chamber felt different, somehow brighter, more hopeful. High Arbiter Kelnoth called the session to order. We are here to address a matter of great importance. The question of human membership in our alliance. Murmurs rippled through the chamber. Everyone knew what was coming. Councillor Thexvara has requested to speak first. Thexvara stood slowly. Her voice was quiet but clear as it carried across the chamber. Fellow councillors, I stand before you as someone who made a terrible mistake. 18 months ago, I led the effort to reject human membership. I called them too young, too unpredictable, too dangerous. She paused, gathering courage. I was wrong about everything. Humans aren't too young, they have fresh perspectives that we desperately needed. They aren't unpredictable, they're creative and adaptable. They aren't dangerous, they're the most generous and helpful people I have ever known. The chamber was silent. Thexvara continued, her voice growing stronger. When plague threatened my world, human doctors risked their lives to save my people. When our communications failed, human engineers freely shared their knowledge. When pirates attacked our worlds, human military advisors helped us fight back. When our species fought each other, human mediators helped us find peace. She looked directly at the communication screen, showing the Human Observer section, where Ambassador Jin Soo-hyun sat quietly. Ambassador Jin, I wronged you and your people. I let pride and prejudice blind me to your true worth. I formally apologize to humanity and humbly request that you forgive our foolishness. The chamber erupted in surprised murmurs. No counselor had ever made such a public apology before. Jin Soo-hyun stood and bowed respectfully. Councillor Thexvara, your apology is accepted. But more important than apologies, are actions going forward. What would you have us do? Kelnoth asked. Treat each other as equals, Jin said simply. Not just humans and the existing alliance species, but any species that seeks peaceful cooperation. Judge others by their actions and character, not by their age or the color of their skin or the number of their arms. Councillor Brixton spoke up. Ambassador Jin, does this mean humanity will accept membership in the alliance? Jin considered carefully. That depends on the terms. We won't accept second-class membership or probationary status. If you want us, as partners, we must be equal partners. Agreed, said Velnara immediately. Agreed, echoed Brixton. One by one, every councillor voted in favor of full human membership with equal status. Even Thexvara voted yes, though she looked nervous about it. Then it's unanimous, Kelnoth announced. Humanity is welcomed as a full member of the Galactic Alliance. But Jin wasn't finished. There's one more thing. During this crisis, we learned that many other species in the galaxy could contribute to our alliance. I propose that we actively seek out new members, instead of waiting for them to apply to us. Who did you have in mind? Asked Kelnoth. The Terran colony of New Singapore has developed amazing agricultural techniques. The Epsilon Eridani Mining Consortium knows more about asteroid mining than anyone. The free traders of the Outer Rim understand economics better than our finest theorists. Jin smiled. There are hundreds of species and cultures in the galaxy. Each one has something unique to offer. Instead of an exclusive club of 12 species, imagine what we could accomplish as a true galactic community. The idea was revolutionary. The Alliance had always been small and selective. But the recent crisis had shown the dangers of isolation and prejudice. 6 months later, the Galactic Alliance had 37 member species. Dr. Elena Rodriguez headed the new Multi-Species Medical Council. Chief Engineer Kim Dae-ho led the Communications Integration Project. Captain Park Min-jun commanded the Alliance Defense Force. And Counselor Thex Vara, who had almost destroyed the Alliance through prejudice, became the head of the new Member Integration Committee. She dedicated her life to making sure no other species would face the rejection that humans had experienced. The galaxy had learned a valuable lesson. Diversity isn't weakness. It's strength. Different perspectives, different approaches. Different ways of thinking, these weren't problems to be feared, but gifts to be treasured. Ambassador Jin Soo-hyun stood on the observation deck of the new Alliance headquarters, watching ships from dozens of different species come and go in peaceful cooperation. His aide joined him. "Sir, the integration is proceeding faster than anyone expected. Trade is up 400%. Scientific discovery has tripled. Border conflicts have almost disappeared." "Good," Jin said. "But the real measure of success isn't in numbers. It's in the fact that beings who were once strangers now work together as friends." He watched a human medical ship docking next to a Ziloni science vessel, their crews preparing for a joint mission to help a newly discovered species. "That," he said quietly, "is what the galaxy was always meant to be." The Alliance had walked away from humans in quiet rejection. But humanity had responded with quiet dignity. And in the end, that quiet strength had transformed the galaxy forever. Sometimes the most powerful response to being pushed away is to keep your door open for when others are ready to walk back through it.